Hi, this is Bhund Republic, episode 4. I'm Jaski and I'm hanging out with Abhishek Roychowdhury of Psychedelic Adventure. If you haven't seen the page on Facebook and Instagram, please check it out. Right? We're going to talk about psychedelics and psychedelic stuff today. So, tell me about the name first. Psychedelic Adventure. What do you mean? What are you trying to say? I mean, it's pretty obvious for someone like me, but
It's quite self-explanatory. Psychedelic literally means mind manifesting or soul manifesting. Adventure is, you know what it is. It's like a journey into the unknown, perhaps. Yeah. A thing which you haven't done before. Right. So it's more like an exploration into the unknown.
Right. Of the mind into the unknown.
Yes, I think a lot of the things that we are dealing with are mental in nature, so everything that happens in our experience starts with the mind first.
Right.
And the term psyche literally is from Greek, which means mind or soul. So yes, it's a psychedelic adventure, this life.
Right. So are you saying psychedelics are they only deal with the mind, or would you say also the spirit and the soul or emotions?
Exactly what I said. So the soul and the mind are interchangeable. I mean, the word psyche in Greek means mind or soul. They have the same word.
Alexander.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You were saying two-stroke.
Yes.
You were saying, please repeat that for me.
Yeah, the mind and the soul.
Yeah.
So the mind and the soul
in Greek literature
are the same. The word they have for the mind and the soul are the same.
Right.
Which is psyche.
Okay. So psychedelics, when someone says psychedelics, substances, it's something that's going to help you explore, you said, your soul.
Yes, exactly. It's more like understanding who you are and your place in this universe, in the larger scheme of things.
So in your idea, is the soul psychological, or is it some sort of matter which we don't perceive? How do you explain soul or spirit?
I really won't try and explain soul or spirit, because anything that you try and explain, it usually gets misunderstood and misconstrued depending on who is listening to it. So I would say even if I want to try defining it, I would say it is something which you cannot define.
Right.
It's not a thing.
Right.
It is of infinite nature. It is your infinite nature, or the essence of your infiniteness.
So the essence of my infinite nature is my soul.
Yes, sir.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that before. I've heard people say that the soul is, like in Hindi they say Atma, and then the Atman is the common soul or the universe soul. Is that right? Is that how they say it?
Yes, I mean that is as per the Vedic way of looking at life.
Right.
In the Vedas, the Atma, the soul, or the supreme consciousness have been known to be the same.
Right.
That is this connection that the Atma and the soul has with Paramatma, which is supreme consciousness. So although we see ourselves as limited, but we are like droplets in this big ocean.
Right.
And it's all Atman anyway.
Right. So all souls are connected, right?
All souls are the same, all souls are connected, everything is connected. At a spiritual level, at an energetic level, even at the level of matter as we know it, we are all from the earth, we are earth, each one of us.
Right.
No matter what label you identify with, this tree, that person, this person, that thing, this thing, it's the same thing. It's from the earth and it is part of the same energetic matrix that we call earth. We are the earth. Each one of us is the earth.
Okay. Would you say consciousness is different than soul? Like experiencing your consciousness and experiencing...
I would say they are interchangeable. They are the same. I mean, consciousness is an easier way to understand reality, because it is not limited to animate objects.
Okay.
So even a stone has a consciousness of its own, is the general understanding of the term consciousness.
And does a stone also have a soul?
Yes, if you understand that they are interchangeable, yes, it has a soul, and the soul is consciousness.
That's something I haven't heard before. Nice. Okay. And when they say entheogens, what do they mean? In my understanding, it was psychedelic substances which are sort of therapeutic on whatever level, medically, for your psyche, for the soul. Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah, I mean, you're very close to the definition.
Okay.
It literally means, entheogen literally means to awaken the divine within.
Okay.
Entheogenic. Theo is the word for God. Genic means to create. En is within. So it's to create divinity within you. To create the divine within. So any substances that you would use which create that sense of divinity within you would be termed entheogenic.
And all psychedelics would say are entheogens? Or someone?
Depends what you call psychedelics. Now, psychedelics is a term which is broadly used for a lot of substances out there.
So let's talk about that a bit.
So you have plant-based derived stuff. All of it is plant-based actually.
Right.
They are not always organic in nature. So like things have been extracted and they've been mixed with things, there is a process to it. So there's a little bit of human intrusion in certain substances, like in the creation of certain substances, man has played a part because of which there has been a dilution. So it is not exactly like smoke weed or you eat a mushroom. So now you have MDMA, you have research chemicals like 2CB, 2CI, N-bomb, which are sold in the market as acid, which is a big issue. A lot of people doing acid thinking it's acid, it's actually not.
Lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD, is not the N-bomb.
A lot of the stuff that is sold out in the market is not really clean, and it's very hard for a normal guy to figure out what they are doing unless they know how to find out.
Is it a different experience?
It is crazy because yes, I mean, being a guinea pig in the psychedelic world once in a while by choice, I've realized yes, it can be quite chaotic when you don't know what to expect, because acid, on the contrary, is a very powerful experience where a lot of magic and mystery is revealed to you. Unlike the experience on research chemicals, which is very physically twisted and painful in a way. Like it's unpleasant. I mean, you would not want to be writhing in pain in your bed, tripping on anything, because it's not a pleasant experience. You would rather be out there trying to find this connection with nature, finding yourself better by observing the outside world.
No, actually, when you say research chemicals, I thought even acid was a research chemical, right?
No, acid is not a research chemical. Acid is a semi-synthetic psychedelic. It is from a fungus. Research chemicals are the ones that are not really mainstream as yet. They are like discovering things which are like analogues, which may seem to mimic the effects of something. So if you Google, there's a lot of bullshit out there which is being sold for many reasons. Greed, money making, to fuck up people. There can be many things. There's something called flakka which is also in the market. Not so much in India, but there have been intrusions once in a while with people bringing in this shit. Flakka is crazy. If you Google, if you YouTube these videos, you'll be shocked to see, what we are capable of.
Flakka?
It is something that humans have engineered and let it out in the streets.
I've heard
something like meth, something like crack cocaine, like heroin, for instance. However, if you understand plants and their medical benefits, you will start to separate the two sooner or later. And that's what is happening right now. People are realizing that plant-based substances or psychedelics are not necessarily harmful drugs. They're not really addictive. They are used as medicine, and there is always medicinal stuff with every plant that we use. All the medicines that we are using right now are from the plants.
That's true. No, this brings me to an interesting question which has been in my mind for a while. So at least mushrooms and marijuana, and in India they had something called somras. I don't know what exactly they were talking about, but they've been in a part they've been a part of culture in many societies for eons now, right? Like some Central and North American tribes even, they're still doing peyote, they're still doing mushrooms culturally. Like everybody, it's not a taboo or anything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Somewhere down the line, somehow all of this was illegal. And it's actually been illegal for less amount of time as compared to for how long it's been legal, right? How do you think, or why do you think that happened?
I think it was always legal until it became illegal.
Exactly. So
Let's say
that's
that.
just
And which was
maybe
just very
100,
recently.
200 years, maybe.
Yeah, maybe within a 100-year span, I would say. Because in India, when you see it was illegal till 84, for instance, cannabis.
Ganja, yeah. Some places it's still legal.
Yes, it's a very ludicrous law anyway, because a lot of people are immune to this law. Like for instance, a million sadhu babas and people who are off the grid. You cannot really do anything to stop them from smoking their ganja.
And some tribes in the northeast are also.
Of course, tribes also. I mean, you would
Manipur
not.
And
You can't, or you would not. There are like many things which don't fit in. And first of all, who gave anybody a right to outlaw a plant?
Exactly.
It is ridiculous to start with.
Yeah, I totally agree. But how do you think? So, what I'm trying to understand is, okay, somewhere down the line, some people said we can't have the masses doing this, right? You think that's because you think there's some political or social? Is it just a social thing, or is it plainly because they don't understand it?
It's political. There's the tobacco lobby. There are these guys who want to be in charge of the situation. The pharma lobby.
Okay, so it's about the money.
It is about a lot of things. It's not just one thing. It's about control. It's about not letting people take care of themselves by allowing them to grow their own food, their own medicine, for instance. In India, it's not that bad really, but in some other places, like in America, you have these laws where you can't grow food in your own freaking gardens now. Come on, that's ridiculous.
Well, there's
these things can happen anytime, even here, as long as the government keeps pushing their agenda and we keep taking it, bending down, each time. They'll keep doing it more and more unless we stand up and we say, no, fuck you, we don't really want this shit anymore.
America as in USA, right?
Yes.
Where's that? I've heard of that somewhere. No, there's some silver lining there. I heard there's one, I think I was talking to you about, where they've sort of legalized anything as long as it's natural and organic. So they can do changa, they can be doing mushrooms, they can be doing marijuana.
Of course, now it is like recreationally available after it was made medicinally available.
Right.
And people have been fighting back as well, and they've been asking a lot of places. I mean, people can grow. It's ridiculous to make a plant illegal to start with, or make anything illegal. You cannot. You make anything illegal, there will be illegal activities going around.
So I think a lot of times the state makes it illegal because they want their own cut.
They want to take control of it. They want to make things illegal and be in charge of the situation. So,
and that's how they get their own cut.
Yeah. By keeping things illegal, perhaps.
The dark channel.
Everybody knows. A lot of people know why there has been a war, or all of these wars that have happened, and because of greed. It's about taking control over the poppy fields in Afghanistan.
Poppy wars are really famous.
You have the US troops patrolling the poppy fields. For what? I mean, why do you want to fucking control the opium supply of the world unless you really want to control it?
They make painkillers and all out of opiates, codeine and morphine and stuff.
So many drugs, man, like these antidepressants, they're all opiates in a way. And with all this bullshit mixed in all of it, I don't even go anywhere close to it. So I haven't really done my research on that stuff. But just to know that there is something like Adderall and Prozac and Ritalin and Xanax and all these pharmaceutical drugs which are prescribed, which are fucking people up, and people are realizing, and now they're saying, fuck you, we want cannabis, we want our mushrooms, and it's going to be legal. Because it was never to be made illegal in the first place. That's a ridiculous thing to do. So it's like saying that I'm going to arrest the earth for growing this. You can't. Earth is going to grow as long as there's a seed.
Would you say, would you recommend different kinds of psychedelics for different people? Like I've read about peyote and mescaline, I haven't tried those. I know about acid, I've tried shrooms and changa once. But in my mind at least, I don't know a lot, but what I know is there's two major branches, the amides like MD and LSD, and then there is the tryptamine like 5-meo or NN mushrooms or changa, which are largely almost the same molecule.
I think there is a little bit confusion there in understanding, perhaps because from my understanding, I know that there are tryptamines and LSD is a tryptamine.
It is?
It is a tryptamine like psilocybin, which is not really tryptamine. Psilocin is a tryptamine, which is a substance in psilocybin mushrooms. DMT is a tryptamine. So they are very similar in the molecular structure, is what you were saying. Hence they are known to be from the same family.
Right.
Like chemically they're very close to each other. They're also very closely linked to serotonin and dopamine in their molecular structure. So they are neurotransmitters in some way, or they kind of function like that.
I saw a meme recently when you said serotonin and dopamine. It said those come from dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin and endorphins. I didn't know that. Using a get your dose. So
a lot of us are getting high on technically only two things, dopamine and serotonin. Everything is a catalyst to the secretion of these things inside us. So even our pineal gland, which secretes DMT, it is activated only after that it starts to secrete DMT.
And it does that when we are asleep, I heard.
Naturally, yes,
Yeah.
and it can be a conscious experience when you are in deep meditative states as well. When you have lucid dreams, also you are astral projecting, which is probably because of the DMT pumping through your system thanks to the pineal gland.
So in my understanding, astral projection is when your astral body leaves the physical body and it's free to, like you can sort of, you're aware of taking it wherever and doing whatever.
Absolutely.
Right? So if the DMT is released inside your body, in a physical body, right? It's a physical. That somehow lets your astral body disconnect with this physical body?
Yes, that is what they have like come to understand from the studies that they've been doing, that at the time of physical death, when the soul is known to leave the body, that's when they have discovered that the pineal gland secretes heavy amounts of DMT. So it just makes sense that when we are asleep, when we just go into heavy REM sleep, and when the astral body begins to disassociate from the physical, it shoots out.
Right.
Dogs can see beams of light coming out of buildings and houses, and they're barking at all these beams of light shooting up.
Which we don't see.
Which we cannot see, but they can, because they can see into the infrared. And this is the realm of spirit.
Right.
If you get an infrared camera, you can actually see the spirit world. We can do an experiment any day.
Yeah.
We could go into the forest, and if you have infrared camera, we can see nature spirits. I've seen them with naked eyes without infrared vision, but that is up to them. If they want to show themselves, they do.
And did you have to, like, did you meditate before that? Were you on changa, DMT, or just, is there certain things that you can do to make that happen or more likely to happen? Let's say I want to go to the forest and see, is there something I can do to make that more likely to happen? Or?
If you're in the flow, if you're in the meditative state,
right,
which is
flow state,
always,
okay,
things happen, you are doing stuff, or things like come to you at some point. You may be doing LSD, or you may be smoking changa, or you may not be doing anything but just smoking some nice weed, or you may be just chilling at home and you can have this experience. But you have to be in the flow and just follow your intuition. These things happen randomly, bro. But there are no random things also. Sometimes, I feel that the universe or you had already planned this long before you were born. I use the word you for universe interchangeably, because it just makes more sense. Each one is the universe. Everything is manifestation of the non-physical.
But I still have that one question. I just asked you that, but I think it went elsewhere. I was saying, so if my astral body leaves my physical body because of the DMT in my pineal gland, and I'm aware while I'm astral traveling, projecting. Let's say I did that for an hour. After an hour, I decide I want to go back. So does that mean in my physical body there's still a lot of DMT, or how does that work? They're still connected, right?
Yes, and probably. I don't know if there's any study that has gone into this. So this is just from my intuitive sense I'm answering that question. the body is still secreting DMT while you're astral traveling.
Okay.
So that 1 hour doesn't make any difference. You could have this for 15 minutes or even 10 minutes while you're asleep.
Right. So as long as I am aware of being actually outside my physical body,
you basically you're out of linear time.
Right.
And then anything is possible. You are literally in a space where you start manifesting things, and perhaps there are things happening around you which you can control as well once you start lucid dreaming. And I think it's important to start exercising our birthright to lucid dream so that you can make your reality more dreamlike. If you know what I mean.
I know. I don't know if they know what you mean. So I'm sure they've heard of
Waking Life. That's the movie you need to see.
Richard Linklater. I've seen
Yes,
it quite
yes. You were thinking about it.
What a movie.
Or what it looks like. It's crazy. I mean, if you understand divination, then you can work with this stuff. It kind of answers.
It does some doubting. Sometimes.
There's so much to learn, man.
Yeah.
There's so much to do.
You do any of these modalities? I learned something called access consciousness bars. I can run your bars for you if you want sometime.
I heard about this.
Yeah.
I access consciousness. Somebody told me. I have never really tried it.
Try it if you want. I'll do it for you. It'll take about an hour.
Okay. What is it about, like?
So there's different points on your head. I'll then softly touch them, and they're connected with 32 different aspects of your life, including money, creativity, body, sexuality, healing, joy, sadness, stuff like that. And they're connected with the energy blocks, if there are any, that are stopping you from growing in that particular aspect.
Very good.
What are psychedelics, and how did you get involved with, I don't know how to say this, delving in psychedelics, like using them? I don't know.
Psychedelics are mind expanding substances which have been used by man for a long time. I mean, the word psychedelics is fairly recent, but these are entheogens, if you want to call them, which is even a more recent term than psychedelics.
Yeah.
But I would say anything which is mind altering is kind of psychedelic in nature, but not exactly only mind altering. There are a lot of things which can alter your mind which are not exactly psychedelic. So anything which is plant based and mind altering would be a psychedelic
Substance.
Yeah. So I would include a lot of things that are in the broad category called drugs in this bracket called psychedelics. But again, we should not get too lost with labels and what they mean. I would still call them plant-based medicine.
Right.
When you say plant-based medicine, then it becomes a little broader and a little more clearer understanding. Because psychedelic, again, can become a little twisted with the inclusion of chemicals and research chemicals, and some people say, oh, this is very psychedelic, but it's actually a research chemical that they're tripping on, like a 2CB or a 2CI. So, when did I start using them?
Yeah, and how it changed your life? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I think for a lot of us growing up in India in these times, in the last 30-40 years, we've grown up in a culture where there is cannabis, there is alcohol, there is tobacco, easily accessible, and
especially tobacco and alcohol.
Tobacco and alcohol, of course. I mean, I've seen it from the time I've started seeing stuff. There was alcohol, there was tobacco. When I was born, I was in a family where my father was an ex-army officer, and he was always drinking and smoking cigarettes. So I grew up in a household where there was cigarette smoke always around me, and there was alcohol fumes in the air.
Right.
So I was kind of desensitized in a way early on, and for me it was okay. And I was probably passive smoking from a very early age. And when my father quit, I started smoking. So it started off with smoking cigarettes and then dabbling with alcohol a bit, since my father always had an alcohol quota at home. And then it graduated to ganja. at some point somebody offered me a joint, and I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, I've heard of this, and this is not the first time somebody's offering it to me, although I refused it earlier because I felt I didn't want to do it at that point. I was happy smoking my cigarette. But it happened one day, and I finally smoked my first joint, and I am so thankful to those two boys, Anthony and Bennett. I don't know if these guys will be
Hi
watching
Anthony
this.
and Bennett, thank you.
I don't know if they'll be watching this video, but I'll try and share it with them.
Send them a link.
Yeah.
And get them to subscribe.
So yeah, these two guys kind of.
You aren't having it?
My first joint.
Sorry, it's good. So sorry. They gave you your first joint.
Yeah, and I had this longest walk of my life, and I think that is still a mild psychedelic experience if you wanna ask me.
For me, music can be psychedelic. Pink Floyd is my first
anything.
experience. I would say. The
Pink
Doors.
Floyd is psychedelic, of course. Yeah, a lot of things can
You
be
think
psychedelic.
psychedelic music has the same experience as a psychedelic substance to some level at least?
Yes, I really believe so. I think music and sound frequencies have the power to alter your state of mind in ways that you cannot explain. It's the power of sound frequencies. We know cymatics, we know the effect sound frequencies or vibrations have on physical matter. And when we understand that we are all basically particles of water floating around mostly.
Largely water.
Yeah, and we are affected by vibrations and sound. Like how if you see water and how it is affected by sound and vibrations. So we can be positively charged, or we can be, dimmed down if you're listening to wrong frequencies. And these guys know it. The strong EMF frequencies like 5G and shit like that. So yeah, are not good. And there are certain frequencies which are harmonic in nature, which are 432 hertz. The natural frequency of the earth, of things around us.
So that brings me to a question that's been in my mind for a very long time, and I think you might be able to answer it. What's with the word, the chanting of Om? It's across all cultures. If not Om, it's Amen or Ek Om. Is that some sound frequency or something that's healing, or what is it?
Well, Om is the primordial sound of creation, as per the Wikipedia definition, as per the general understanding.
Primordial is the first.
Yes.
So the first sound
of creation is what they say on the internet when you Google the term, the meaning. And also when they studied the sound of the sun, our sun emits a certain sound.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh,
and when they studied the sound of the sun, it sounded like a it's like a sound. And there are people like David Serrada who are talking about this in his videos.
Who is David Serrada? Can you tell me?
David Serrada, I think he runs a company called Voice Entertainment, where he's been talking a lot about UFOs and extraterrestrials and energy, free energy and stuff. It's very, very interesting. I came across this guy a few years ago when I was heavily blogging on Psychedelic Adventure.
Right.
He has a nice set of videos on his YouTube channel. I don't know if they're pulled down or something, but you'll find them on the internet somewhere. There is a documentary also called Voice, where he's talking about free energy, extraterrestrials, Syrians, a lot of stuff.